when you do big projects, they want you to promote it. And so, yeah, so they're like, you're going to do Family Feud. And I became a legend in my family. They were like, you're going to be on Family Feud. This is amazing because there's no one in show business in my family. And I mean, my town, everybody watched, everybody was so amazed. And Steve Harvey was like, what's the most disappointing thing that's happened to you since you've been, you know, on Mixed Dish? And I'm like, I think booking the Celebrity Family Feud and them telling me I cannot keep the money if I win. And he was like, Christina, no, that doesn't look right at all. Like, celebrities can't keep money. And I go, well, maybe old celebrities, but new celebrities like me have student loans. I have 40 years worth of bills. What are you talking about? I just got my job.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Christina Anthony is an actor. She sat down with me in cyberspace to talk about the work. You have an amazing story of getting the role of Denise on Mixed Dish and then almost instantly having to go into work.
Yes.
And it happened all so fast that you didn't want to quit your day job, as you explain it. And you were actually doing your day job through the filming of the pilot and into the next episode, which was essentially weeks here. And my ears perked up when you said the stuff that you learned in Chicago, theater work, improv work, really helped you during that time because you were so kind of crazed and you needed to approach your tools.
Yeah.
is what I was hearing.
Yeah.
What did your foundation in the Chicago theater and the Chicago improv scene, what did that instill in you that you were talking about there, that you were pulling from?
Yeah. So I think, there was it was a very quick process once I got cast. Yeah, I had 90 minutes, I think, before I started. I was the last one added to the show. And that, I actually think that kind of helped me because you're right, it forced me to kind of, my instincts kicked in. And I was able to lean on the kind of things I had learned in Chicago. I would say the number one thing I've learned, and first of all, I just have to give a shout out. Chicago actors, Chicago artists just get it done. So that's one thing. And the scene there is a very much there's some big theaters there and some big names have come out of them. But for the most part, it's black box theater, which is kind of, I believe in Los Angeles, they kind of call it this like 99 seat theater, but it is a scene where it is very much a kind of bare bones and you bring everything into it. So you might be acting, but you're also helping make props, but somebody needs to always know how to run the lights just in case the light guy can't come, so you kind of have this all hands on deck feeling. And then once I left the black box scene, I moved into the comedy scene, improv and sketch. And both of those, the way they are related is that the Chicago theater scene has a Broadway style schedule. And so you perform anywhere from 6 to 8 shows a week. So, and you're doing the same show every night. And that rehearsal process, 6 to 8 weeks of building a show and putting it together and working on your scenes with other actors and the director, and then going to run that same show. Sometimes you run it for 8 weeks. Sometimes you run it for up to a year if it's a hit. Doing that same show 8 times a week for an audience who's seeing it for the first time and keeping it fresh, it does help to build a muscle. You learn what is funny. You learn where not to go, how far you can go. You learn what to do when no one is laughing. You also learn how to build ensemble very quickly because in a year-long process, someone usually gets their golden ticket and they call and they say, you guys, I just booked SNL, I'm leaving. And that night, a new actor comes in and there is no announcement. There's a small announcement to the audience that there's a new actor in tonight, but they don't know anything about our process. And that person, similar to Broadway, is seamlessly dropped into this show that has been running for 6 to 8 months, and they need to be ready. There's a small rehearsal with them, I think, for like 2 hours ahead of time. But for the most part, they just drop you in. And I think that feeling is what I had when I came to the Ish family to Mixed Ish. My coworkers, my ensemble, like Gary Cole, very famous from Office Space and Veep, just a Chicago salt of the earth icon. Tika Sumpter, done a million things, just a full on movie star. Paul Gosselaar came from, most people know him from like Saved by the Bell, but I had watched him in the show Pitch. It was just amazing. His character work is just phenomenal. And I think I was very intimidated at first. And then within minutes, when we started the process, I was like, I'm being dropped in. This is my put in. I am not a replacement, but I felt like there was no time. No one was like, hey, welcome to Hollywood. Welcome to working on television. They were just like, welcome, let's get started. That was it. Right. And I think that willingness as an actor to just get in there, there's no pomp, there's no circumstance, everybody, just so you know, this is Christina's first big TV job. They were just like, they said, you're a comedian, right? Be funny. We didn't talk about structure of jokes. We didn't talk about ensemble. We didn't talk about anything. They just were like, we're starting. And I think as an actor, if you can do that and kind of, you can have those moments at home. My family celebrated me and my friends celebrate me. I'm glad to talk to folks like you who enjoy the process. But when you're at work, it's just time to get to work. Nobody, I often say it's like playing basketball. Nobody wants to see LeBron James go sit on the sideline and say, I want to think about back when basketball was first created. Like, no, we need you. Like, what are you doing?
Or introduce him. Like, this is one of our best basketball players of all time. Let me introduce him. No, we just want to see him play.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see him come out with a microphone talking about what is the dribble. Sir, what are you talking about? Please play ball, and also learning how to play your position when you don't have the ball. So that was the other thing that I learned from being in ensemble, not necessarily like being a star. Chicago theater is very much about ensemble work. And sometimes you often trade roles. There's been times, especially in sketch comedy, where we've also gone from doing 6 people in the ensemble, and they're like, hey, Lisa's out tonight. She just broke her leg and we don't even have time to find an actor. You need to seamlessly just add those parts in. And so you're like, great, what was she? She was a doctor in this scene. Okay, she's a mom in this one. And you're just like doing double duty. And I think that part is craziness of sketch. I think SNL does similar things sometimes where they have to just swap roles very quickly. But I think that's the other part is like learning how to play your position. When you are given a gig, the best thing you can do as an actor is be acting. And I think Mixed Ish has also taught me that. It is not my job to worry about the makeup. I don't need to worry about the wigs. I don't even have to actually worry about the lines. I need to know them and deliver them really, really well and interpret them as best I can. But even then, there's a director there to help me unlock it if I just can't find what I'm supposed to do. There is a writer who, if I'm really, really off track, will help, give a note to steer me back. And so I think if you really think about it, television and film work, it might be, I feel like, one of the easiest, most wonderful jobs you can have as an actor, because in some of these other venues, you do have to worry about other moving parts. Obviously, when you go to like Broadway or you're doing theater, the director doesn't stay with you. So there is a tightening that has to happen of your work every night. And you guys might talk about it like, hey, this scene is getting too much air. It's getting a little longer every night. The stage manager might come to you, but that's something you guys have to work out. They're not going to bring in a director to kind of redirect that and bring it back. You're kind of in charge of your makeup and your clothes sometimes. But the beautiful thing, and even the lighting, like when you're doing live theater, the light will follow you if you step into the wrong place, or if the light is someplace, you have to walk into the light, and everybody will kind of wait for you to find it, that find your light kind of thing. But on camera, somebody's going to set the lights there, and they're going to even put a big X there for you. You don't even have to worry about that. And if you don't get it right, they're like, we just won't use that one. Let's go back and do it again. So I think there's a real gift in once you get to, for me, this is my 20th year in show business and my first year kind of doing a television show as a series regular. And I think it's just been a real gift, that training I've had beforehand to kind of just learn how to play my position.
I have a friend that is no longer acting, but he was on the verge, and I feel bad that I pushed him a little bit, but who am I, right? I mean, like, what can friends do? But I knew he was on the verge. They were calling him back. It was like casting directors were at the point where they were like, they kept calling him back for like 30 Rock. And they were like, we don't know what we want to do with you, but we know you're eventually going to hit something. They kept calling him back. And he just decided to quit. How many people know how good he was? I do. A couple people I know. A couple, like there's this whole what if about him. There's this parallel universe where he's having a Will Ferrell type career. You tell the story of 100 pilots auditioning for and about to quit, and your boyfriend at the time tells you, just do this last one. Your other family encouraged you. You did. It was mixed-ish, and then suddenly 90 minutes later, you're at a table. I mean, when I heard that story, I thought of my friend, and I thought, what is the lesson here, though? Is it just perseverance, or was it you were gonna make it? You were gonna make it, even if you decided to call it quits. Somebody would have found you. You know what I mean? Do you believe in stuff like that? Or do you believe that you have to stay with it?
Perseverance, I mean, I feel like that's like 90% of it. I think you definitely like skill. What is it? Skill. There's a saying, skill plus will equals success. So yes, having talent and knowing what to do, that's super important. But that will to stay in there is what separates people, right? And so I would say I was at my wit's end. I was definitely at the end of my rope. And I also think, I had people around me who I had forgotten maybe that I was good at this. And so I had people around me, like my family and my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. He always tells me to say that. And my friends who did remind me, and they reminded me in very solid ways. Like I was on the bus in Los Angeles. And if you're listening and you've been in Los Angeles, the bus is an impossible feat out here. And so, my parents, they're so wonderful. They like scraped together some money. I come from a working class family, and they were like, hey, we got you a used car. Like a family friend's going to drive it out there. They were like, can you try one more year, just out there. And this was going into my 8th year. And I'm like, if I was supposed to be doing this, I'd be doing it. And for me, what I came out here to do was to do a television show, to be a regular on a show. And so I hadn't done like many co-stars and guest stars or anything like that. And so I was just going to go back to Chicago, where I felt like I could have a good footing. And that was my version of, I'll be just successful there, which is what I understand, doing 8 shows a week, doing comedy, I'll get back into stand-up, maybe I'll teach. But I also had, my reps were here, and, listen, like representation is, some people are like, you don't need it. For me, it was crucial because my reps, I wasn't making them any money. And I've been with them almost a decade, and they didn't drop me. Their feeling was, we just don't have the right people knowing who you are. We just have to keep kind of presenting you to people. And then that person also needs to have their right opportunity. And when that right opportunity is there, it's going to come together. So they were very much like, just stay in the game. We know you're not making any money, because we're not making any money off of you. And that was a unique relationship too, right? To have the same agent who, one, I wasn't like, well, you guys are fired, I'm not making money, you're not helping me.
Right.
And then they weren't also like, we're going to drop you, after like, I think 3 months, you guys can separate. So here we are like 8 years into this relationship, and they're just like, it's just going to take time, and I believed them, and then I didn't. I just was like, you guys were wrong. And I wrote them a letter letting them know I was going to leave. I wrote my manager. I think I wrote a couple like contacts in both cities, like letting them know, hey, I'm leaving. If you got any jobs in Chicago, is your apartment up for rent? I'll sublet it. And the response I got back from people was really like, oh, if you could just stick it out. Let me call my friend. I think he's doing a project. I'd written a project that had kind of done well in town, but I didn't really get a good deal off of it. So, I was trying to write stuff. I'm trying to do stand up. I'm trying to keep my face out there. People are like, hey, I'm doing a web series. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I was everywhere trying to do everything, but I'm like, this is just not happening, this big goal. And having, my boyfriend and my friends and my family and my reps, that solid circle being like, do one more, just one more. You can do this. Them believing when I just didn't believe anymore. Them saying, you are still good at this. You have it. Just because other people haven't seen it doesn't mean that you don't have it, I think is a real lesson. I'd love to say that I always knew I was worthy and I always knew I had it. But my self-esteem had been broken down. I had no more faith in myself. And even when I started the job, I had a little bit residual of that too. Mm-hmm. I still felt like I was auditioning. I remember one time we were reading something, and this is like maybe 2 or 3 episodes in, and I flubbed a reading, table read, just people are sitting around drinking coffee, and I said, I want to do it again. And I remember Tracy Ellis Ross was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I just want to get it. And she's like, you have it. You have the part. You work here. What do you mean? And I just was so nervous, Right. But you just forget. And so now, like, it took some time. You get back and you remember who you are. And so I think, was it always meant to happen? Yes, I believe that. I believe that this is the destiny that God has for me. Now, should I have been a child star on Star Search? Yes. But that didn't happen.
Somebody messed up all these years.
Yeah.
It wasn't you. Just that the casting people messed up.
But I say all that to say, it doesn't mean that your friend is not still going to make it,
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Should I go and pull him out of his family and his good job where he's supporting his children and get him back to LA? Yeah.
Well, yeah. You gotta be not in the middle of COVID, baby. But I do think there's an opportunity. What is that? I think it's Eckhart Tolle says, everything that happens to you, even when it's something bad, act as if you chose for this to happen. So the best thing that could have happened for his career, tell your friend this, is that he has a family and that he's not in LA and that he's at a job that really, really supports him.
I love this.
Maybe, and from there, I don't know, maybe he creates a story. There's a story there. Maybe he writes a movie about that.
I mean, just saying what you said, it feels empowering.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like, oh, the story is still mine. Like, it's mine to write.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't fail at that. This is the story. I'm still the narrator of my own story, the writer, whatever. I love that.
Yeah. And trust me, I was working even when I was working my customer service job, it definitely got hard too, right? Your pride comes into it too. When you introduce yourself to people as an actor and you're not acting, as a creator and you haven't created anything lately, as an artist and they have not seen your art, it can get to you. And to the point where I remember at work, the place I worked is kind of notable. And it was becoming more and more notable. The day job was becoming bigger and bigger, and I was moving up at it. And I remember going to my boss and asking them, I said, I have to change my name. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I go, because I remember a very famous comedian, they were like, his family has booked a trip and they need help with the house. And I had just submitted a script to him to be a writer on his late night talk show. And I said, this isn't going to work because he I talk to him on the phone and he has like a producer and I have to talk to them. I'm like, it's going to be too confusing. Like Christina Anthony, the comedian, and Christina Anthony, the customer service woman. This is too confusing. What are the odds? So she says, so what do you propose? And I go, I'll change my name to like this fake customer service woman. I'll give her when they ask you like, where are you from? On the phone. And I'll just like say, I'm Judy from Arizona. And she's like, I don't know about this, because this is not something we do. Why can't you just be Christina? I said, because what if one day I do become a famous comedian? I don't want to confuse people. She thought I was crazy.
Hilarious. Yeah.
But to this day, I'm so glad I did that pretty early on, maybe 3 or 4 years into it. So I go on to work there. And to this day, there are people that are like, oh my gosh, I loved working with Judy. Whatever happened to her? And my coworkers there, some of them don't work there anymore. And they will sometimes send me messages and they're like, Judy, they'd say, she saved our wedding. She saved our holiday vacation. Whatever happened to her?
When you did choose the name, did it change the way you worked? Like, did you embody Judy? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would do.
Yes, I was acting like Judy because sometimes people will
like another person.
Yeah, and they'd be so angry with you sometimes, right? And I just use that as oh gosh, yeah. They're just like, Judy, this is my daughter's wedding and everything. The pipes are busted, and I'm like, listen, I understand. And at the time, I didn't have a boyfriend, I don't think. I'm like, I just got married. And if this would have happened at my wedding, I would have been devastated. And I can remember sometimes because sometimes my family would be with me because I could work wherever I wanted to. And because I wasn't acting. So I wasn't even in LA sometimes. And I remember I'd be at home in St. Louis with my parents and my mom be like, why are you on there just lying to people? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm empathizing and I'm playing a role and I'm mirroring them. But it really was a great acting study.
I was going to say.
Character study, and some people, they'd say, Judy, you understand how it is with a dog. They said, I can't have my dog. I'm like, listen, my dog, can you hear him in the background now? I don't have a dog. But I acted like I had a dog. And they're like, I hear them. I'm like, great. I know how hard this is for you. I haven't solved any problems, but at least we're on the same side at this point.
Yes.
That job, it taught me so much about listening to people. And it also taught me like everyone is the star of their own life.
Yes.
So that's the other part too. Like there are no small parts. And that's what I love too about Mixed Dish. When I came to that show, that role had 8 lines in the pilot. I didn't even know if I was going to actually end up in it. And it's just like expanded, to like be a solid part of the cast and the family. And I love it. But I'm like, I always tell people, I'm like, it doesn't matter how small it is. If they say yes to you, this is your next thing to say yes to. Do it.
Because you're a writer, when you get the comedy script, the new episode script, what are the benefits of you being a writer and reading comedy? What are the drawbacks to that? Because I'm imagining there could be like, knowing what's funny and what's not funny, it's in your bones now. And so when you pick up the script, so like benefits, drawbacks, but also how do you know when to speak up about certain things and fight for certain things?
Yeah, that's a good question. That was, it's been a learning experience because obviously in the sketch improv world, it's highly collaborative. It's everyone is writer / performer. So, you offer things to people or they offer things to you. And it's definitely, you are telling writer to writer, tell the actor to do this because you guys are all playing the same positions. When I came to Mixed Dish, I'm hired strictly as an actor. They do know I'm an improviser and they do know I'm a writer. So I think, the great thing is there's so when I first get the script, I read it, by myself. And I do assess like, I try to read it like I wrote it. So I try to assess, and just for me personally, not anybody else's role. Is this a joke? and how hard is this, like, based on other things on the page? Is this the major laugh of the scene? Is this just an accent? So I try to think about it in that way. And then I will go back and look at other people's parts to see, like, oh, do you have the out of this scene? Are you so I'm looking at all those elements, like, as a writer, and the rule of 3 and how many jokes per page. And then this is not a multicam, it's a single cam, so there's not as many jokes necessarily. And then going back as an actor, I will perform it, and if I don't feel something is funny, I actually don't say anything. And this might be to my detriment, but I will keep doing it over and over again because I didn't write it. Right. And so I will keep doing it. I will keep doing it. And then usually for me, one of two things happens. I unlock the joke through repetition, and it comes to me. So maybe that happens at home. Maybe that happens in the table read. Sometimes that happens, when we're in the rehearsal on set, and then sometimes it happens literally on camera. I'm like, I got it.
Wow. Interesting.
That happens. So that happens. That's a long process, though, to hear somebody do a line over and over again, and it's not funny. Yeah. But I think the writers, they do trust me. We have a very trusting relationship. I mean, because they are the best of the best. I mean, we have writers from all over the place, but I mean, just like Will and Grace and Scrubs, and like, they're just amazing. And our creators from Blackish, Peter Saji. So I trust them. I think they trust me very much so. So sometimes it does take me a while, but I will find it. And even if they decide to change it, I might write down the old version just to keep it, because I'm like, I think I just need more time. Once we get down to the wire, though, after a few takes, if I still don't have it, I think that most times they will call for an alternate and say, hey, we have a different idea for you. And I'll just do it right there. And then there's also, what I love is that there's oftentimes where they'll say, if you have an idea, you go ahead and you fill it in. And we don't do that. Like, everybody doesn't do that, because there's some actors that are like, don't put me on the spot. I don't want to do this. Right. This isn't my job. I love it when they let me do that. Yeah. But that is my last resort, because if we're getting to the point where I'm improvising to fix jokes, that means that I'm not being a good actor, because I'm not interpreting the material. Or it means that I'm not being a good communicator, because I'm not letting them know, hey, I still don't have this. So usually what I do prefer, though, is like when I improvise, is that it's like, we already have the shot, we're a little bit ahead on schedule, and they're like, you can goof off for a second. And sometimes we use that and sometimes we don't. But it makes the workday fun. It makes the scene fun. It makes me feel successful. I like that they give me that opportunity. We're shooting right now during COVID, so we don't have as much time as we used to. But definitely in season 1, we do a take. It was great. We do a second take. They're like, we've all nailed it. They're just like, you could do like another 2 and goof off. We don't care. It is different having props and stuff. So when you're grabbing stuff, they're just like, can you remember where you had that? Where you put that? Because you can't be like moving stuff all over the set. And like, I had to learn those things too, right? Or improvising. I improvise with my whole body, and they'd say the shot is just like on your face. So that was really funny, that footwork you were doing, nobody said. Right. But I think and then as far as like fighting for things, there's nothing, I don't ever approach anything as I have to fight for something. I do let them know if I have a concern. And I think that's been like one time. And even when I've had a concern, it was like, we have already talked about this for the last 2 days. The fact that you just reached out to say, this kind of bothers me, confirms it for us that it is wrong,
You were talking about how, like, working in theater, sometimes in small theaters, the director's not around at all. But in this case, on this show, you have many, many directors coming in, maybe a different director every episode. And what effect does that have on the work? Because to me, that would be a little bit like, it would start to make things schizophrenic. Like Ron Cephas Jones told me about how he hates that part. He gets used to a director. Suddenly there's a new director. Now, that's a whole different kind of show.
Yeah.
This Is Us, of course. But he had to figure out a way to combat whatever that was doing to him. Like, he had to work around it. It seemed like it wasn't productive for him. Other people have talked about how, Rami Youssef talks about how these people come in and they bring stuff that it just adds to the work. And so I find that fascinating. But where do you land on that? And especially coming in, not having any experience necessarily with any of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was completely stunned when Anton Cropper, who directed the pilot, and he directed our second episode, when he was not there the third week, I was like, what's going on? Is he sick? What's happening? And everybody was like, huh? I'm like, where's the director? And they're like, this is our director. And I'm like, okay. And so I was completely confused. I didn't know that happened. Yeah, I'm coming from theater. You keep the same director for the 6 to 8 week process. I wouldn't say that I didn't like it. Because I'm an improviser, I was okay once I got used to new people coming. But Tika Sumpter said something she plays Alicia, my sister, on the show. She's our lead. She said something really great, which is, it's fine for new people to come. Don't let them change your character. Still do what they tell you to, but you have to maintain the character. And I think as a sketch performer who changes characters a lot, and character being a master of disguise, I had to make sure I didn't cross that line every week and start, being different versions of Denise, my character, to please the current director. But then, because in the bigger arc of the show, right, when you watch it from week to week, you'll be like, she is, like you said, schizophrenic. She's just like different every time.
Yeah.
And some of those are small things. So I would watch what other people would do, and I kind of tried to do the same thing. So I had to learn on the job with that. So when the director would say, hey, Christina, when we do this scene, you'll come and have a seat here. I would kind of look to everybody and they're like, and I'd say, this isn't my seat. I've never sat here.
That's interesting.
This is the dad's seat. This means something if I sit in this seat. When I go back and think about it, like, I'm in charge of this woman. She doesn't, and I don't live there. That's the other problem sometimes too with that house. Our set is, I live elsewhere, but we never go there. So yeah, there are times where I also become very familiar on the set with things. And I'm like, well, then if I'm, they're like, just grab something out the fridge. I'm like, okay.
Like Kramer.
Yeah.
Like Kramer.
Yes. And so then I have to, like, does this inform? I have to think about, like, if I do this, if somebody walks in your house without saying hello to you and goes straight into the fridge, I guess we're closer sisters than maybe we were playing before. And then after that, I have to keep playing it this close. And, we have to establish that. Or because
if it goes back, that's weird then. Yeah. If
weird.
It goes back.
Yeah. And then I have to remember too, like, I remember Mark Paul Gosser was like, wow, you're still here. Or somebody was like, I think it'd be funny if you were doing your laundry. And he was so annoyed by that. He's like, I think it's so rude that you would come do your laundry at this person's house and you don't live here. And I'm like, great. Then the next week, I think a director was like, yeah, what do you want to be doing? I'm like, I guess I could be doing my laundry since we're in the laundry room. And Mark Paul goes, oh my gosh, you're doing it again. I go, let's stick with it. And now it's become like this huge running joke, but it was great because a director brought that to us.
Right.
And now it's become this thing of, are you here doing your laundry again? And it's just like a throwaway thing. I mean, we never focused on it. But it's so nice. Like, someone brought that to us and we kept it.
What did that director say when you said, that's not my chair?
They said, okay, yeah, where do you guys usually sit? Because we do have same seats at the dinner table, or we do have same seats when we're discussing, like, here's a problem the kids are having. And that little bit of sameness, to me, it didn't really... It's not a big...
It matters.
It does matter. Yeah. To me, it wasn't like I could not act. Yeah. But it was telling to me, like, it does say something by changing it.
Yes.
And even it felt different in my own body. Like, yeah, this is kind of my seat. I do always sit
Yeah.
here. And I think it's interesting too, like even like where the kids, we have 3 kids on our show. They even begin to, they have a, I didn't know this, but there is like, they have an acting coach, like assistant type director person that works with them. That person
Mhm.
stays the same, even
Mm-hmm.
when the director changes. She's there all the time. And even for them, like I notice, like it's just, you know, the communication and kind of getting into a rhythm. I find that television, even things that we do behind the scenes, like what I eat for breakfast, they, you know, they know I'm going to ask for the same thing every day. People try to kind of anticipate
Yeah. Yeah.
what you need, what your rhythms are. We try to get into a routine. And I think it does make for more efficient work. And so, yeah, completely changing something and being like, today I'm going to sit in the father's chair. And
Right.
like, it just, I think even the crew would be like, wow, what does this mean?
Right.
Is the dad dead? What's happening? What's
Right.
going on? To me, I think that moment was, this is too interesting and it's making too big of a moment for me to be sitting in his chair. When
Right.
that's not even what this conversation is about to be about. This conversation
Right.
is about, I think we were talking about racism in country clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, so it wasn't, we didn't need to be doing that.
Mixed Dish season 15. How do you feel about that? Like, are you ecstatic? You have a job, an incredibly wonderful job with incredible people for 15 years, or is there something inside your little person, your little inner actor, your inner comedian who is thirsty for other kinds of comedy, thirsty for other kinds of work because you have other, you know, using the word again, other muscles that need to be exercised, you know?
As an actor who, you know, this is my 20th year in show business, and I got a job, you know, 18 and a half years into it that actually pays the bills. No. And that's like being completely real.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody was happier that I got this job. I was happy, but nobody was more happy than my landlord. You know, like he was like, she could finally pay this check on time. Oh my gosh, her rent is always late. Nobody was happier than my parents, you know, or my brothers and sisters who I'm always begging, hey, can we do a group gift for mom and dad? Because I never have it. You know, I struggled, you know, and even when I met my boyfriend, and now he's my husband, you know, he helped me a bit, but he, you know, is also an emerging artist. And I think I waited so long. I'm so happy for the experiences I've had, and I'm so happy for the art that I have made. But it is nice to be able to pay my bills and not like sell clothes at the end of the month and sell my favorite books to try to like make money, you know, like, so yeah, I'll do 15 seasons. Now, with that said, yeah, it's network comedy. It's a sitcom, you know, that is a very specific type of art form. And so, yeah, I was burned out on sketch. I'm sure you could burn out on being on national television, but you should be so lucky, right? I'll wait until I have that problem. I'll wait until
Nice problem to have,
yeah,
right?
I mean, I literally, what is it? Like Modern Family went 10 seasons. You know,
Something like
Grey's
that, yeah.
Anatomy is like on 17, 15, 17. Like, I'll wait until people are like, I'm so tired of Christina Anthony. Great. On the other hand, yeah, do I have other things I'd like to do? Sure. And the great thing about, you know, TV is and because this is a show with like kids right now, I mean, we do have a sort of schedule. It's kind of thrown off now because of COVID. But yeah, it films pretty much during the school year, like the traditional US school year. So yeah, during the summer, I'm free to do as many blockbusters as I want. And yeah, I'm very much, and then streaming, there's tons of other stuff happening during the summertime. I'm super interested in action, making the leap to action films. I think it's something that's unexpected of me, but I really want to learn, you know, how to just do something different. Comedy comes pretty natural to me. But I would love, like, you know, like I mentioned often, like Regina King, you know, went from 227 and now like she's a legend in Watchmen. Yes. You know, or like Will Smith goes from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to like I Am Legend. Like people make the leap. And I think that there is a similar muscle in comedy that applies to action of precision. And
Yes.
I'm very interested in seeing how those skills translate to action work. I'm not interested in working out and exercising to do that, but I guess I have time.
Look, they'll CGI your muscles or whatever they have to. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This let somebody else worry about that part.
Or they can build it into my suit. Supergirl has like fake muscles in her outfit. She has fake biceps. I like it. But yeah. So I think there's room to do both. And then I'm still a creator. I'm still a writer. So I still have my show ideas as well, you know, but I definitely say, especially like you said, you know, actors listen to this. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You know, I think especially like someone like me who came to like my dream job late in life, now is not the time to be like, and I'm done, you know.
Right.
And also, we joke all the time. We recently did an appearance on Celebrity Family Feud, and Steve Harvey, who's just wonderful, you know.
That's amazing.
So there's other things you have to do. Like when you do big projects, they want you to promote it. And so they're like, you're going to do Family Feud. And I became a legend in my family. They were like, you're going to be on Family Feud. This is amazing because there's no one in show business in my family. And I mean, my town, everybody watched, everybody was so amazed. And Steve Harvey was like, what's the most disappointing thing that's happened to you since you've been, you know, on Mixed Dish? And I'm like, I think booking the Celebrity Family Feud and them telling me I cannot keep the money if I win. And he was like, Christina, no, that doesn't look right at all. Like celebrities can't keep money. And I go, well, maybe old celebrities, but new celebrities like me have student loans.
Exactly.
I have 40 years worth of bills. What are you talking about? I just got my job. But I think, 15 years of Mixed Dish, I'll take it for sure. But I think longevity is the key. So you do want to make sure you're learning how to do other things. And as an artist, an actor, you are an artist, but you know, you have other creative muscles. So start working those too, so you can have longevity.
Christina Anthony, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Peter.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.